Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Ooh. Hang on, I think we might have Nike now.
Oh,
Yes.
we've got another host. So,
Oh my
welcome
God.
to the Simply Together show. Running a little bit late today, but it will be worth it. It will definitely be worth it. So, I'm hosting today, Cecile, and I've got the lovely Nike. How are you doing?
Oh gosh, a bit flustered. These IT crazy things that happen at the last minute. Well, it's all good. We're excited to be here.
We've got, I'm not sure whether we've got Jenny with us or not. Are you with us, Jenny? Still can't hear you. So we've got Jenny with us, who's coming on to talk about her journey with motor neurone disease. And we're going to start with something else, and hopefully we'll then be able to hear Jenny when she comes back in a little bit later. So we're going to start off today. So Sunday was the 20th of November, and that was Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Okay.
And I wanted to kind of raise the profile really of the day, because I don't think many people outside of the LGBTQ plus community really know what the day stands for. So I was hoping to get Lee, so one of our friends, Lee Gale, who works for an organisation called Gendered Intelligence, was hoping to get them on, but they're in a meeting. So we've done a video, and hopefully, because it's very new for me to do these video things, I really haven't got a clue, but I'm learning. So Shelley's going to play the video, and then after the video, if there's any questions, please put them in the chat. And obviously Nike and Jenny, if you've got any questions, we can talk about that afterwards. So if Shelley's ready, possibly, maybe. Don't you love live things?
Oh my God. Oh dear, that's funny.
We've got the video, so hopefully it's not too long, but yeah, here we go. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, hi. So this is a video for the Simply Together show, because I wanted you on the show, but you're busy working.
I am, sorry.
That's okay. So introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so no, it's really good to be able to talk to you today. So my name is Lee. My pronouns are they or he. So when people are talking about me, any combination of they, them, theirs, or he, him, his feels comfortable. And yeah, so I'm trans. So when I was born, they thought I was a girl. They put female on my birth certificate. And as I grew up, I knew that wasn't the whole story. And in my early 20s, I started to transition. So I socially transitioned, changed my name, told other people, did all of that kind of social stuff. And I've also had medical intervention as well.
Thank you for sharing that. So I've known Lee for many a year, quite a few years. And so I think sometimes you're my go-to person. Yeah, you are. If there's anything I don't know or don't understand or whatever, I kind of come to you and we have a little chat about it, and it's really good. So what I wanted to talk about today and what I wanted to ask was about the Transgender Day of Remembrance, 20th of November. I kind of want to know where it came from and why it's there, if you can share with me.
Yeah, sure. So it's been around for, so it started in 1999. And what happened, it was started off because a trans woman was killed in 1998. And there was an advocate who wanted to honor her memory. So the memory of Rita Hester. And the advocate is a person called Gwendolyn Ann Smith. So she kind of started everything up. And basically, it's happened every year on the 20th of November since 1999
Wow.
to just recognize, commemorate, and think about kind of all of the trans people globally who we've lost to violence. So that may be, and you know, that may be because they have been murdered because they're trans, but also starting to think about those people who just couldn't go on. So they have completed suicide as well. So it's not the most celebratory day. It is quite a somber one, but it's really kind of important to consider that.
But it's an important one, isn't it? It's an important day. And the reason I was thinking about it is because I don't think maybe within the trans community, everybody knows about it, but outside of that, I don't think they do. And it's kind of just trying to share that information. And obviously some of it is around within the work that I do with young people, we say somebody has ended their life. You know, so it is around people that have ended their life, but it's also around people who have died at the hands of somebody else. And I just it kind of just sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah, I mean, in the last year, so it's done from October the year before through to September, and then the Day of Remembrance is in November. So it gives people a chance to get kind of all the stats together. But in the last year, so from October 21 to September 22, reported murders have been 327 globally.
Oh my gosh.
That's only the ones who were reported. Where we don't have that information, we don't know. I mean, there was a huge thing. I imagine you're familiar with the conversion therapy idea of conversion therapy as a therapist yourself. But this is kind of therapy where somebody is going into that space. It doesn't necessarily have to be kind of with a counselor. It might be somebody else, but with the idea to try and make them not be gay or bi or queer or trans in some way. And there's been a huge campaign going on over the last few years around conversion therapy. I have no idea where I was going with that. I completely forgot the beginning of the sentence.
Was you going down the road of obviously some people who may have died due to conversion therapy?
So and the reason this came to a lot of people's knowledge, especially Obama when he was president, was because there was a young trans woman called Leela Alcorn who ended her life. I can't remember exactly the year, but you know, Obama was in, so it was a few years ago, and basically she set up a blog to say what had happened to her, and if she didn't stop the blog, it was because she wasn't there to kind of stop it being published. And so it really came to light some of the things that people were experiencing. But what happens quite often is if people end their own lives, is that there's a lot of shame and stigma around being trans, or the people around that young person especially might not know that they're trans. So all of these come to light. So, you know, I mean, these 327 are the people, are just the numbers in terms of those who are murdered. So thinking about, you know, the numbers are probably going to be higher. There are a lot of countries where the community isn't able to connect in the same ways, or isn't as strong in some ways. So we're not getting those figures out of those places. And I think the other thing to consider is the impact of intersectionality, so other identities or experiences you might have, because a large number, so 65% of those where their race or ethnicity was reported were black, brown, or part of another racialized group. 48% of those were sex workers, and 95% of those were trans women or people who were femme presenting, so looking feminine. So also just, it's not just about being trans, but where we get those intersecting identities where you are marginalized in society as well, definitely plays a part. Thinking about locally as well, there aren't that many. It's really good to say in terms of murders in the UK, but just over the last year, there are 2 young people. One of them connected to the organisation that I work for, Gender and Intelligence, was part of our youth groups and stuff. Young person called Shay, and somebody else local. I didn't know them, but I saw it being reported in the paper about a week apart. Who ended their lives just this last year. So it's real, it's real.
It's quite scary, really, when you say numbers like that, 327, and we know that already, that's not the total figure. There is always going to be more than that for many different reasons. And I don't know. I didn't know that. I knew that people had their lives taken away from them, and obviously there's going to be people who will end their life, but I didn't know that were the numbers. And that's really scary.
One of the things that we talk about at Gendered Intelligence, so I deliver training for GI, so I go into all sorts of different organizations and just create space for people to challenge their own maybe misconceptions, to ask questions, to just learn and understand what trans experiences might be. And one of the things that we try and focus on and think about is celebrating trans experiences and that idea of trans joy, because if we can create more of that, we're not diminishing or ignoring that people can be vulnerable or that it'd be hard. But if we can create space where we can, we can smile, we can laugh, we can feel joy, we're not going to lose as many people. So it's I think that's really important to consider. Yes, the day is really somber. Yes, as a global community, we are losing people. People, we're not losing them, they're being murdered. And that is really hard, but we need to think about how do we survive, how do we deal with that. So the week running up to Trans Day of Remembrance is Trans Awareness Week. So one of our campaigns over that week on Instagram, if you want to have a look, we're Gendered Intelligence on Instagram, was just celebrating trans joy and creating space for people to think about that and enjoy that. And the context that we've got in the UK at the minute is a little bit scary for people. We had so when Theresa May was in role as Prime Minister, she and the Tories promised kind of this conversion therapy ban, what I was talking about earlier, to come through. And it's first of all, they said they were going to do it, but they were going to leave trans people off that. And now it's just been kind of shelved completely at the minute, and we don't know. So there's talk of Rishi Sunak wanting to revisit the Human Rights Act and the Equality Act and the Gender Recognition Act. And, we're getting the impression that it's not to make it much better and more inclusive. We're getting the impression that it's to make it less accessible and inclusive for trans people. Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak have talked about young trans people and medical intervention, and to the point of saying that it's not just medical intervention, but thinking about social transition. So as I said, changing your name, telling other people that a young person should only be able to socially transition with parental consent, which is huge. And where is the barrier? Where is the boundary there? Because if a young person who's called Charlotte says, "I want to be called Charlie," they would be allowed to do that. Okay. But what if the person suddenly thinks, "Oh no, this is a boy's name, maybe this person is trans," they're going to be stopped. They might not be trans, but where is that line? So the environment in the UK at the minute is quite scary for trans people. We think we've reached the point where, okay, this is it, and then it just keeps ramping up. So that trans joy, as I talked about, is really important. And there was a study in 2012, the Trans Mental Health Study. And one of the things that was amazing to see from that was 81% of participants felt they'd gained something as a result of being trans or being able to express their gender and you know, be themselves and gaining confidence and being able to gain knowledge and happiness, insight, community, friendships, and a future. So that trans joy does mean that we are more likely to survive.
It's, I think one of the things that I've done, I think about the last year and a half, maybe 2 years actually, I've as a therapist have been working with many trans individuals over the past couple of years, and quite often the struggle is hard enough as it is to gain access to medical, you know, anything along those lines. And it's just for me, it just seems really hard. It's not an easy journey. And then to be part of that journey, you're then scared to go out. You don't know what's going to happen, those kind of things. It's just not nice. It's just really difficult. And some of my work then is to get them to look at the good parts, the joy that there is, what they can do, what they are doing, what is out there for them.
What does the future look like? You know, what are the possibilities as well? And where is community? I mean, we were talking before we started filming, weren't we, about sort of being able to tap into some of the youth group spaces or the community spaces and how important that is. I used to be co-chair for another organisation called Trans Bear All, which we've talked about before, and just the being able to be in a space with other trans people where you don't have to explain or justify. You can just take a breath out and just
and be you,
just exist. Is so important as well. So
definitely.
And those places are there, so definitely, you know, reach out. I think if you're trans or you're exploring your gender, reach out to community. I know it can be hard sometimes if you don't know people, but you know, I've made the most incredible friendships through the trans people that I've met over the years. And if you're not trans, we really need that allyship now. So help us share that trans joy, help us fight the government where we are looking at potentially losing rights and things like that. Get involved with the campaigns that are happening and just be a voice. You know, when we talk about other forms of marginalization, we talk about racism or homophobia, you can't just be a bystander. You need to stand up and say, actually, this is not acceptable. So that's what we're asking for as well from trans community, so that this number that we talked about can reduce.
Smaller. Definitely. Wonderful. Thank you for just coming and doing that for me.
No, thank you for the time. It's really important. And if I could have been there in person, I would have been. So
I know. Another time. We'll get you on another time.
I'd like to offer, if people have got questions, maybe you could gather some questions and I could come on and we can arrange it when I haven't got a meeting and I could come in and maybe talk.
Excellent. We will do that. Cool. Right. So I'm going to end that there. And yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. That was really good.
Yeah. It's just sitting, obviously I was doing that last night, but to sit and watch it back and to listen to it is quite emotional, because the whole point for me, I think, is around the fact that the world is not a safe place. We know that already. You know, for anybody who's going out, the world is a scary place. We hear about it all the time. But for somebody to be targeted specifically because they are trans it's just awful. It's just absolutely awful. And we don't know the numbers, you know. So like I said there, I didn't know between this past year 327 trans people have died, have been murdered, have ended their life, and like I'm thinking somebody's already said, I think it might have been Shelley, that those are the only numbers we know, because those are the ones that have been reported. There's going to be many, many more that haven't been reported for many different reasons.
Yeah, it's the bias, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to say this nicely without being so obviously anti-media.
Say it.
But that is the point, isn't it? They have this. I just feel there is an agenda. We were just listening to what Lee was saying there, and they want people to be steered in a particular direction. And the easiest way to do that is through the media, the news, social media. I believe people are pushing back anyway, but general, the traditional media forms, most definitely, they will always put a slant on the way they want you to see it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure even how you could just read an innocuous news article where they would talk about someone being killed, but that person could be trans, but they wouldn't say.
No. And there's specific cultures as well, the numbers that Lee said around how many people are black, brown, because within that culture, within West Indian culture, also African culture, Asian culture, they do not embrace anybody from the LGBTQ plus community. There's this still a massive stigma there. And so if somebody who is trans has then died, either be it whichever way it's happened, some of those families will not report that as a trans person, because they just don't want that people to know that. And one of the messages on there, I'm reading a book about being an ally with a capital A, meaning I don't just support, but will step in and be a voice. And that is like what Lee was saying, that is really, really, really important. Be an inclusive ally, ABCs of LGBTQ plus. Lisa, how do you say that?
I would say it's one of the last
Lisa Kanecki.
Oh, right. Okay, so I was right. I was just about to debate whether you actually say the E there. I've actually got a question around something that Lee was saying, because it's something that comes up quite a lot. It was around this thing to do with age limitation. So where he was talking about the social transition, a young person should be able to do A, B, and C with parental consent. I was curious as to what age group he was actually referring to, because obviously you mentioned how particular cultures view things, and obviously different cultures view the idea of young and age very, very differently, because we know what the law says. But
so I'm presuming that Lee is talking about under 16s, most probably school age, because there's been a lot of information debate around anybody who is like of school age, whether they have the capacity to make those decisions.
There's been a lot of because even generally there's been a lot of stuff coming out about maturity and growth, because so even though we have legal ages of 16, 18 and 21, apparently, I do not know the science behind it, even though I have a science background. I'm going to go and look into it at some point. They're saying that our brains do not actually mature into adulthood until the age of 25.
Oh God, that answers a lot then, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, people are putting that forward. I've not heard anything in relation to trans at all, actually, to be very sincere with you. It was more around the idea of grooming and in terms of being able to give consent, and why, if you're an older person targeting for whatever purposes somebody under the age of 25, it can be seen as grooming. And that was the explanation that was brought forward. And I've heard it not once, not twice, several times. So I was just curious as to whether Lee had any thought process around that.
I've brought Jenny in because she just actually, I think it's part of what you actually do yourself, isn't it, Jenny? About
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay, you can hear
Yay!
me. What you were saying about being our brains don't mature until we're 25, that is correct.
Oh, wow.
That is a psychological fact. I mean, obviously there's individual differences, but it's scientifically accepted that our brains are still developing up until the age of 25. So that might be what part of that argument you're speaking about.
Okay.
It's a really difficult one because from the work that I do, working with young people who are questioning their identity and quite often have made that decision. I don't know, the youngest person that I've worked with is 11, so anything from there. And if they've decided and they want to go ahead, it's really hard. It's really hard because you've then got some young people have parents backing them, but obviously the law doesn't back them or the medical profession doesn't back them. And then others have got nobody backing them and they're struggling with that on their own. It's one of the questions that we can hold on to and talk to Lee when we get him on another time, can't we? But I do know for myself, having working with people from individuals from the LGBTQ plus community, I am an ally, but I'm not a sat back in my chair saying nothing ally. I am out there and want to do more because I just feel I need to do more. Because that's all I can do is to go and be a voice and try as much as I can because they need the support.
Yeah.
When I was listening to your interview and you spoke about trans joy, I totally got that because to become part of a community and be able to be accepted for who you are is so important because you can't actually be truly happy until you love yourself and you accept yourself. So sort of being part of the community and accepted is a really important thing. So I can't remember the guy's name, but what he's doing is Lee. What Lee's doing is so majorly important. It's a massive support for any age, whatever age you are, and you're going through this transition. It's a massive thing to go through. And on top of that, to feel prejudiced against and stigmatized, it's not on at all, is it? In modern society, it's abhorrent.
Yeah, it is. And I think why I wanted to raise this and for people to hear is that, there's been work that I've done, client work, and, and they've then said to me, they're struggling with their journey as it is because it's not an easy journey. And then they're scared to go out because they don't know what's going to happen when they go out, whether someone's going to target them or not. And we need to raise this. We need to put it out there for people to know and understand. So yes, we're now going to move on because we've got the lovely Jenny here. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Nikkei. So Jenny's been on our show before.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember speaking to her.
Yeah. So we kind of want to know how her journey's going. Talk a little bit about M&D and what you've got going forward.
Yeah.
And what you're going to do in December.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, I'll leave you with that.
Thanks for the tips. I needed them. Oh dear. Hey Jenny, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. All things considered, I'm quite well in myself. and MND wise, I'm really thankful that I'm progressing quite slowly. My voice is probably the most part of me that's affected. And also my swallowing. So eating and drinking can be quite an adventure.
Oh my Lord.
Sometimes I have a little mishap and choke or sort of inhale liquid, but as it is at the moment, I'm coping. I'm on the list for a PEG, just in case people don't know what that is. That's a feeding tube that goes into your tummy. So I don't need it yet, but because there's a waiting list, I've got on it. I can get the PEG inserted, but I don't need to use it. It will just be there for when I do need it.
Okay.
And then all of my nutrition and my necessary foods I'll be able to have through the PEG. And then anything that I fancy, like, I don't know, an ice cream or a cheeky treat, I can have through normal. But it's just kind of like an insurance that when eating becomes too difficult, I will still be able to maintain my nutrition. I'm still mobile. Another main symptom that's come on is that I'm very tired. But, you know, all these things that I can cope with. MND is motor neuron disease. You might have been seen in the news about someone called Kevin Sinfield. Over the last week, he's raised £2 million for MND.
Wow.
His friend is Rob Burrow, who is a famous rugby player who contracted MND during lockdown, I think, or just before lockdown. And Kevin Sinfield has sort of taken on the task of raising awareness and raising money sort of in his friend's name, because Rob is unable to do that now. And last week he ran an ultra marathon, so at least 40 miles every day for 7 days.
Oh, yes, I could see something like that. The headline.
Yeah. And he raised £2 million. But apart from that, he raised a massive amount of awareness about motor neuron disease. So that's a good thing. It's not good that motor neuron disease has to rely on charity money. The government did promise in November 21 that they would ring fence £50 million for motor neuron disease research, because there is no cure for MND. So if your doctor tells you you've got MND, there's nothing they can do. When I was diagnosed, I was just told to go and live what life I had left, which in this day and age, you don't expect it. You kind of, you have a blind faith in medicine and think, as long as you get to the doctor in good time, even with some forms of cancer now, as long as you're vigilant and you watch your health and you get to the doctor in good time, they can at least attempt to treat you. But with motor neuron disease, there is no significantly effective treatment or cure. So the government promised to ring fence £50 million for research in November 21. A year on, they've released £2 million of that £50 million, that's all. Which sounds like a lot of money, £2 million, but
for research purposes it wouldn't be though.
It's not really, no. So that's me. That's where I'm at. I'm progressing slowly. I'm thankful for that. I've retired from working now because I was a lecturer,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
unfortunately issues with speaking for a long time, and the power in my voice has gone. I couldn't really do my job. So I've returned to being a full-time student. I picked up my PhD again.
Oh, wow.
I've only got about a year of that left, so I am determined to finish that while I can. And I've been making lots of memories with my loved ones, and also doing a lot of fundraising.
Right. So, what have you got coming up in December? So mentioned that you've got.
Yeah, I've been selected to attend the Motor Neuron Disease International Conference. It's online, and I have been selected as a patient fellow. So that means that I will attend the conference as a motor neuron disease patient, and I will listen and attend the conference lectures and all that, and then try and relay what I have learnt in layman's terms, because I don't know if you've ever experienced trying to read a research paper, but unless you are au fait with academic terms and the way they're laid out, it can be quite scary. So what I'm doing is attending the conference and then trying to relay that information in layman's terms to other motor neuron disease patients and carers, so that they can be as knowledgeable as everybody else.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
really looking forward to it.
Oh, okay. That's in December.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
beginning of December.
Okay. Oh, that's really good. The other thing, sorry, I forgot to ask you what you're doing your PhD in.
Oh, a very different topic. Terrorism, basically.
Oh, wow.
It's mainly centered around the way we, as a general public, how we socially categorize people. And I'm investigating whether, depending on the social category we put somebody in, would we be more accepting of harsher counter-terror methods. So basically about bias, about ethnicity
Yeah.
and religion and things like that.
Oh, wow. That must make for some interesting reading.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Do you find you get carried away and forget to make your notes? I could just imagine it being a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, 100%. You get caught up in it all and carried away a little bit, but that's what research is all about. You can't be a researcher unless you're enthusiastic.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. We've got a question here, as in, is there a reason why you chose that particular topic?
Well, my degree is in psychology and criminal behaviour, and while doing my degree, I became interested in terrorism. And what caught me about it is, how can somebody be born British and live in this country and over a period of a very short time be radicalised online, and then before you know it, be committing terrorist acts? And I did some research about online sort of grooming and radicalisation, and I kind of stayed in that terror area, if you want to call it that.
That's amazing. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm sat next to my work laptop, so it's going a bit crazy. So yeah, I've got another question here. How much money have you raised on your own? And are you taking a break for the winter months?
Yeah, so I started doing my own fundraising in about in January last year. I did an MND, Motor Neuron Disease Association organised fundraiser, which was to do 15,000 steps per day for the whole of January. And I did that and raised about £1,300. And then a lot of my friends have been asking how they could help and what they could do. And I thought, right, I'm going to fundraise, and this is how my friends can help. They can join in. So since about April till October, we've had Pilates sessions, yoga, pamper days, sponsored walks, wild swims, and rounded it all off with a charity evening. And for the whole year, I've raised £12,000.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done.
Thank you. I'm taking a little break now over the winter months, and hopefully I'll start again in the spring.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. I was going to just ask you a question based on that question, actually. That do you find, because you mentioned that one of the onset of the symptoms has made you become extra tired.
Mm.
How has that had any impact on how you feel cold and things?
Yes, because before I got MND, I don't know if any listeners or yourselves ever feel like this, but when I get tired, I feel the cold more.
Yeah.
So yes, I do feel the cold more, and that is a symptom of MND, about temperature regulation. But I think it's all mixed up with feeling fatigued as well. Yeah. So the price of gas and electric is not going down well with me.
I don't think it's going down well with any of us.
Being serious though, it's a major issue for some people with motor neuron disease, because for some patients they need to use the breathing apparatus, not ventilator. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but that obviously costs money to run 24/7. So just like everybody, they're feeling the pinch with the electric costs, but obviously more so because their life depends on it.
Yeah.
And is there any kind of help for them with that? Because it's actually a medical need.
Yeah, so the Motor Neuron Disease Association will issue loans or grants. So I don't think loans is the right word, because you don't pay back. I guess it will be a grant.
Yeah.
And I did read the other day of a lady who was saying how thankful she was to the Motor Neuron Disease Association, because they gave her some money towards her electric bill. So that's why it's so important, I feel, to keep fundraising. Just simple like that, the association helps with.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you've said, that I've heard you say quite a few times, is you're putting in to their funds, because at some point you're going to be taken out of that.
Yeah, 100%. As my condition progresses, I might find myself in the same position as that lady that I spoke about, or I know I'm going to need to alter my home when I become, less mobile. I might not be able to get upstairs on my own. I may need a stair lift, or I might need to convert a downstairs room to sleep in or to use as a bathroom. So the association can help with things like that. And yes, I'm very conscious of trying to put in before I take out.
Okay. I didn't, before we finish, because we're nearly going into even further time. I I do support somebody and have done for quite a while who has a peg. I didn't know there was a waiting list for
Yeah, my hospital, my M&D centre is the National Hospital of Neurology, which is attached to University College London. And I was surprised that there would have been a significant wait. So when I was offered to go on the list, I said, "Oh no, you know, I don't want to rush things or take a place from somebody who might need it more than me." But I was advised to get on the list, and because there is a wait. I'm not sure how long. I haven't inquired how long.
I didn't know that. What I do know is, and what the person has told me is that when you put alcohol into your peg, it gets into your bloodstream and through your body much quicker than when you drink it.
I tell you what, if you speak to my friends, they will tell you I don't need help getting drunk. I'm an extreme lightweight. So
oh God, well, you're going to be even worse now. Before we finish, then, can you tell us how we can donate?
Well, you can either donate directly to Motor Neuron Disease Association, or I think you've got come along the bottom my Facebook page, which is fab.mnd. On that Facebook page, my Just Giving page is pinned at the top. At present, I've stopped fundraising, so the last donation will probably be in October. But I'm going to just pick it up again and use it when I start again. So if anyone would like to donate on that and leave a little message, I would really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Fabulous having you on and keeping us updated with your journey. So, you know, when the spring comes and you're doing your fundraising again, we'll get you back on again and let us know what you're going to be doing going forwards. Before we finish, I just need to remind everybody, on Saturday, 26th of November, we've got International Men's Day at Marsh Farm Futures House. So the Marsh Farm Futures House is opposite the old Pearly Centre. 10:30 till 5. It is the most inspirational day that I don't know, the words kind of fail me, because it's there for men and we are there to support men. They get the opportunity to share their journeys with us, and it's just absolutely fabulous. So if anybody can just come along, come and join us. You don't have to stay the whole day. Just come for, you know, even if you come for half an hour, just come along and just have a listen to what the guys have got to say. Everybody learns something along the way. So International Men's Day, Marsh Farm Futures House on Saturday, 10:30 till 5. So see you there.
Orby Square.
Orby Square. We've got Hightown Christmas Fair on the 27th, so that's Sunday, 12 till 4. And Stopsley St Thomas's Church Christmas Fair on the 3rd of December, 11 till 4. Again, they're lovely events, things you can get for Christmas. Our own Shelley, I think. Are you there, Shelley? Are you going to them? Yes, Shelley is going to be there. We can't. You're on. I think you may be on mute.
At Hightown, we've got a shared stall. So it's Simply Deez Events, and whoever's part of our crew will have some bits and pieces on the table. And I've got some of my Shelley Scrumptious fudge and gingerbread reindeers and that kind of thing. But we've got 2 separate stalls at Stopsley, and we are in St Thomas's Church grounds. But they have got some bits going on at the Baptist Church. There's about 80 stalls for Stopsley. It's a big one. Wow. It's a big one. Stopsley do it big. But yes, our International Men's Day is the big one, but I'll just add in those.
Nike's got to leave us now.
Yes.
We're about
Can I just
lunchtime
say
over.
something? Can I
you
say
very
something
much. It was
really
very great
quickly?
talking to you, Jen. Sorry. Yeah. My time is up.
Right, so Nike's going. So lovely to see you, Nike.
All right, take care.
See you soon.
All right then, no worries. Bye-bye. Bye.
Can I just say really quickly, I've noticed in the comments a lady called Rita James. I can't write in the comments, so I don't know why. I tried to put a comment in, but it wouldn't. But she is a lovely lady who donated some basket prizes for my charity evening. And I did email Rita, but didn't get a response. I think maybe I spelled her surname wrong. So live on air, Rita, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, our lovely Rita. She's part of our team. She does fundraising. Just in abundance, doesn't she, Shelley? And yeah. So I think we're losing Jenny. So quickly then. So the connection is my daughter is best friends with Jenny's daughter. And we spoke to Rita and said, could we have something for her raffle? And Rita just came up trumps as usual.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. We need to leave.
Yeah.
We need to leave.
They're all going one by one.
I know, they're all dropping off. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And anything you want to contribute, anything you want to say with regards to the fundraising for MND or for Transgender Day of Remembrance, just drop us a line and we can sort that out.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.